Okay, so I just made a recipe on one of the world's healthiest and most delicious pizzas I've ever had. I'm really excited about it, and you'll see the video in the members area. But I wanted to talk about the process of making super healthy and super delicious food, because there's really some thinking behind it. And typically when I make a recipe, many people they just follow it to the letter without really thinking about how I made it or why I made it or what goes into it or what doesn't. And then they get all concerned if they don't have the exact amount of Himalayan salt or brewer's yeast or cauliflower. And I thought, let me just talk about the concept of Gabrielizing your food so that you can make it your own, and maybe you can come up with some recipes too that you can share with all of us, and we can get some really, really great recipes like this one. So the process of Gabrielizing your food is to substitute processed food for real food. So what's processed foods? Processed foods are grains, processed sugars, pasteurized dairy, and refined oils. Those are all processed. They are intentionally processed so that they don't go bad on the shelf. They have a longer shelf life. But the problem is that they all cause digestive problems and hormonal problems that cause you to gain weight. So if you can substitute real foods for processed foods and still make something taste great, you've got a real win. Now, when you look at pizza, there's lots of process. So the crust is made usually of wheat, which is a processed grain which elevates your insulin levels and causes leaky guts and activates your fat programs and causes insulin resistance and leptin resistance and all kinds of problems. And then typically the cheese is pasteurized, and that also can cause inflammation and leaky gut and activate your fat programs. So I've got a pizza here that I put together that's got no grains and nothing processed in it. The crust is made out of just all healthy ingredients. This one has cauliflower, onions, egg yolks, psyllium husks, and Himalayan salt, and that's it. That's all the crust is. And then the cheese, I'm using raw goat's cheese and raw mozzarella. So and everything else is just vegetables. The pasta sauce that I'm using or the pizza sauce that I'm using has no sugar, artificial flavors or colors, and is organic. So when you combine all those different things together, you got something really healthy. But let's just talk about the process. How did I come up with this? Well, yesterday, Dr. Mercola came up with a recipe that on his site, and I love Dr. Mercola, mercola.com. Lots of good information there. But it was a cauliflower crust recipe, and I thought, wow, cauliflower crust recipe, that sounds great. So I read the ingredients, and it was cauliflower, but it was a lot of cheese in the crust, and I thought, you don't need to put cheese in the crust. I mean, if you're going to use cheese at all, you're going to put it on the top. You don't need cheese in the crust. And then he said it's important to use raw cheese, but the reality is, it is sometimes hard to get raw cheese. I mean, I have raw cheese here for the top, but you know, if push came to shove, I would just use organic cheese on the top, but I wouldn't put cheese in my crust to have extra cheese, because I don't think you're getting a real good bang for the buck. Cheese should be melted on a pizza and on top of the other ingredients to create the pizza experience, not buried in the crust. That's a waste. So I thought, putting cauliflower in a crust is a great idea, but what else can you use to create the binding qualities that cheese has? So there's certain things that bind. So psyllium husk is a great grain substitute because it binds. And when you combine egg yolks and psyllium husks, then you've got something really, really sticky and bindy. And you combine that with any type of vegetable. So I'm using cauliflower and onions, but theoretically you could use broccoli, carrots, mushrooms would work really well. And the other thing about the crust, if you're doing it that way, is you can put a lot of vegetables in there and hide them from kids, and they don't even know the difference, because all they know is it's a pizza. And so you can put a lot of different veggies in the crust as well. But it's the egg yolks and the psyllium husk together that creates that kind of binding. So I tried it a few times with different amounts of cauliflower and onions. It took me about 3 tries to get it right, but I've got something really good. Now, the other thing that I've experimented with is making a raw pizza with a raw crust. And that usually is involved with nuts and seeds and dehydrating. But the thing is, the reality is that dehydrating takes forever. I mean, I had someone over here to teach me how to make a dehydrated wrap. And it's 12 hours to make a dehydrated wrap. And yeah, dehydrating is great for you, a million times better than most crusts. But I'm not going to spend 12 hours making a crust for a pizza. Okay, this crust takes me 15, 20 minutes max, all up, including prep time and cook time. And there's nothing in it that can get destroyed too bad in the cooking process. I also put ghee in the crust. Now, ghee is clarified butter, also doesn't get corrupted at high temperatures. So you can cook with it. You can cook with the cauliflower. You can cook with the psyllium. You can cook with egg yolks, obviously, and you can cook with ghee. You can't really cook with nuts and seeds because they get corrupted. That's why you have to dehydrate. So I'm making a crust without nuts and seeds, but all ingredients that should be cooked or could be cooked. So the recipe for the whole pizza is going to be in the members area. I just put lots of veggies on top and cheese and melted it. And you can watch the recipe, but I'd love for you to experiment, maybe make different crusts. You can also use this concept to make muffins and French toast and all kinds of things. So the concept is you're using psyllium husks, egg yolks, maybe some vegetables like cauliflower, onions, mushrooms, etc., to create a baking type of batter that we can bake with to make all kinds of different recipes. So play with it and come up with some recipes and let me know what you think. Also, think about how you can Gabrielize some of your other food. For example, instead of sugar, can you use fruit puree or stevia or coconut palm sugar or any combination of that? Instead of milk, can you use nut milk or coconut milk or raw milk? Instead of cheese, can you use raw cheese? And instead of using refined vegetable oils, can you use healthy oils? If you're cooking, you want to use either ghee or cold pressed coconut oil because they're both healthy oils that don't get corrupted at high temperatures. If you're using a cold recipe, you want to use something like chia seed oil, but think about how to substitute ingredients so that you can still have something that tastes great, like this pizza does, without any of the adverse hormonal effects of processed food. So that's it. Let me know what you think. I'll speak to you soon. Take care.